I didn't follow a plan. There was no 5-year vision behind this. I wasn't the kid who knew what he wanted to do. I was the kid who was trying to sit still long enough so he could get through class. So, no, this wasn't part of the strategy. I just kept walking, even when I didn't know if I was heading anywhere. And if you're sitting here wondering if you're late or lost or falling behind while everyone else is building their lives in these neat little boxes, then this talk might be for you. Because I didn't get here by climbing the ladder. I got here by stumbling into alignment through chaos, soft skills, and showing up when it mattered. Being the kind of person that people trust, even when I didn't trust myself yet. So that's what this is. Not a speech, not a highlight reel, not a success story, definitely no advice, just a few truths I found on a nonlinear path and what they might mean for anyone else who's taken the scenic route in life. We like to think everyone learns the same. Same schools, same lectures, same exam halls, but not everyone's wired that way. Some of us drift, not because we're not capable, but because the rhythm isn't made for us. I was born in Sri Lanka, full of energy and chaos from the start. And at 15, I moved to New Zealand and got thrown straight into year 11. And everyone else was preparing for their university entrance, and I was still trying to figure out what NCA even stood for. But in school, I did pretty well. Always top 5 in Sri Lanka, breezed through high school here even while trying to learn English. It wasn't until the university that everything fell apart. Because there was no structure there, like no reminders, just lecture slides, deadlines, and silent assumption that everyone knew how to manage themselves. I didn't. I would cram the night before, memorize what I could, and hope I'd make it through. And for a while, that worked, until it didn't. It took me years and one very structured ex-girlfriend to realize how far off track I really was. I remember watching her prepare for her finals, like timetables, color-coded notes, and checklists. It was like someone trained for like the Olympics of study. And that's when it hit me. I was like, oh, this is what structure meant to actually look like. And years later, I was diagnosed with ADHD. And all of a sudden, it all made sense, but not in a dramatic life flashing before your eyes kind of way, more of a quiet exhale. Soft, internal, like, you've been building with the wrong instructions. You just need a different map. Kind of like this guy on the left. Yeah, same energy, except I didn't even know what I was trying to build at the time. But here's the thing, diagnosis isn't the story. It was everything I did before it to survive in a system that wasn't built for me. I learned how to read people before I could read textbooks. I learned how to build trust before I had titles, and how to build rhythm in rooms that offered none. So you don't need a diagnosis to know that something hasn't felt right, and maybe you've been living your life with someone else's instructions. So here's the first truth I'll offer you. The world isn't built for every mind, but that doesn't mean you're off track. It just means you need to find a rhythm that works for you. And when you do, you stop performing and you start living. And when I found that rhythm, I realized something else, that who I am and how I show up, that mattered more than any job title ever would. We like to put too much weight on what everyone do for their work, but not nearly enough on how they show up while doing it. It's so easy to get caught up chasing job titles, roles, fancy bios, but some of the most respected people I know aren't defined by any of that. They're defined by their presence, their steadiness, the feeling they leave in a room. I work in IT, not because I'm a tech guy out, definitely not. I don't spend my weekends rebuilding PCs or geeking out on hardware specs. This is probably what I do most weekends, spend time with my nieces, photography, golf. I go to sauna quite a lot. And yeah, that's what I do. But I'm good with systems, and I'm calm when chaos hits, and most importantly, I know how to read people. And I can get right people talking and translate tech into human and de-escalate meeting rooms before they boil over. I've gotten jobs that I didn't even apply for. One started at a kiosk. I remember a customer once asked me what I studied, and he said, come meet someone. I thought we were just grabbing coffee, but turns out it was a job interview, and I completely bombed it. But my manager at the time overheard, and she pulled some strings, and next thing I knew, I was in the IT team. And that same pattern repeated over the years, not because I was the most technical, but because I was the most trustable. And oh man, yeah, People always don't have the language for it, especially when you're a guy. They'll say, he's got good instincts, or a safe pair of hands. But what they're really saying is, you're solid, you listen, and you don't shrink the room when you walk in. So here's the second truth I've learned. Your career won't define you, but how you show up will always leave a mark. Not all value is visible on your CV. Not all leadership looks like the loudest in the room. And sometimes, soft skills ripple louder than strategy ever could. You don't need a polished LinkedIn. You just need to keep walking, keep showing up, the only way you can. While I was showing in these spaces, I realized something else, actually. That there was this question that was keep bugging me. I was thinking, like, but shouldn't I be more passionate? And yeah, so we've all been told to follow your passion. So there's one burning thing we all meant to do, and if you don't find it, we've failed. But what if that's not how everyone's wired? What if you're good at many things but drawn to none? And what if your magic isn't what you love, but how you show up wherever you are? And yeah, I work in IT, and I don't dream about like network diagrams or process flows or yeah. And I don't wake up excited to solve complex IT problems, but I still show up fully, calmly, with intention. I don't love IT, but I love the way I do it. I love the way I bridge the gap between people who speak tech and people who don't. I love the way I make teams feel like they're not just a ticket in the system. And that distinction actually saved me, because for the longest time, I thought there was something wrong with me. Everyone else had a calling, and I just had moments that made sense and moments that didn't. What I've learned is, passion might be loud, but alignment is quiet. And for some of us, that's all we need. You don't have to love your work, or you don't have to live for your work, but it helps if your work doesn't drain your life out of you. So I stopped asking, what am I meant to do? And now I ask, does this feed me or does this drain me? That's how I build rhythm. That's how I build structure that works with my brain, not against it. And that's how I made room to show up for things that do light me up. So here's the third truth. Passion is overrated. Presence is everything. Because the life you're meant to live might not look like fireworks. It might look like peace. And that's more than enough. Can I get some water? Is that all right? Yeah? My mouth is dry. Sorry, guys. Cool. Sorry about that. Cool, but so what moved the needle the most? It wasn't presence alone. It was the moments I said yes before I felt ready. Kind of like the speech, like you guys see. I said yes before I knew what I would say or how I would do up here. And yeah, so we told the plan. 5-year goals, master plans, wait till we're fully ready, fully qualified, before stepping forward. But the world doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you had to kind of move forward before you have all the answers and say yes and try to figure out on the way. Some doors only open if you're willing to walk through them without knowing what's on the other side. If there's one pattern in my life, it's this. Most of the big moments start with the quiet, yeah, I'll give it a go. Like I said, even this talk, like I said yes before I knew what I would say and what would happen when I'm up here. Same thing happened in my career. One time, my manager looked at me and said, my gut tells me you're the guy for this role. And I said yes. No overthinking, no negotiations, just trust. And I've held that role with both my hands ever since. I don't tick all the boxes on paper. I don't have the most polished CV. But people trust me. People trust how I show up once I'm inside the moment, because they know I bring calm, care, clarity, especially in chaos. And over time, that trust ripples. Old colleagues still message me. Some say, I wish you were still here. Things felt lighter when you were around. And some say, if you leave, I leave. And even my manager once told me, you don't just run IT, you make it an enabler. But it's not just about work. If you zoomed out on my life, you would see a son who's paying his parents' mortgage. Not for praise, not for claps, but just to give them peace. And for what it means to show up when no one's watching. That's how I lead. Not with noise, not with credentials, but with a quiet yes and trust. I'll become who I need to be once I'm inside the moment. So you don't need all the answers before you say yes. You just need to show up with calm, with care, and alignment. Because saying yes doesn't change your path. It changes how people remember you as someone who doesn't need to be allowed to be trusted. So here's the truth. Say yes before you're ready. Build your plane mid-air. And trust, that's the ripple that will keep going. But maybe the biggest ripple of all, so they showed you all the slides now, so you know what's coming next, is the one we never see. We live in a world that celebrates noise, like milestones, metrics, visibility, the highlight reel version of impact. But most ripples don't come from spotlight. They're quieter, felt, not seen. They come sideways, especially when no one's watching. It's not about taking up space. It's about creating it. Some leaders command attention and others stay to the ground. And that's a different kind of charisma. Not hype, but emotional gravity. If you looked at my life on paper, it won't turn heads. No flashy awards, no viral moments. But if you zoomed in, you'd see the ripple. You'd see a guy who walks into a tense meeting room and slows it down. Not with ego, but with emotional clarity. You'd hear people I work across 2 countries say, when Daz is in the room, it just feels different. He doesn't just fix problems, he stops fires before they start. And even after I left roles, some people say, I wish more leaders led like you. Some say, good? Yeah. And not because I had the loudest ideas, not because I sent the most emails, but because I made people safe to be themselves. And over time, I've realized that's leadership too, the quiet kind, the kind that earns trust by how it makes people feel. There was a time after a breakup, my mate's daughter, Ivy, she was 4 at the time, found out I was sad, and she made me this. It's a two-part masterpiece. There's like stickers, rainbows, unicorns, ice creams, and like little people, and even a sad face. I wasn't quite sure if those little people was meant to be me, one of them was meant to be me. But actually, I just saw them last weekend, and I showed these 2 photos to Ivy and said, Ivy, this is going to be my speech. She had no idea what a TED Talk was, but she just pointed out the top 2 people at the top and said, that's me and you at the top. So it turns out V-A-Z is her way of spelling Daz when she was 4. And then she pointed at the sad face, and then she was like, that's a sad face. I was like, yeah, because you made this when I was sad. And then I looked at it, and I was like, thanks for making this for me, Ivy, when I was sad. And I could see this quiet, like, pride in her face, and like she was real shy, and quietly she said, you're welcome. That moment stayed with me because the point is, she cared. No advice, no logic, just love, the only way she knew how to give. And this drawing and this masterpiece still means the world to me because it reminded me of something I think we all forget sometimes, that people don't remember your highlight reel. They remember how they felt around you. So, real leadership, the kind that changes people, isn't loud. It's presence, it's emotional steadiness, and it's helping others breathe when the room starts shaking. And you don't need a title for that. So here's the final truth. The real ripple isn't what you build, it's how you make people feel, especially when there's nothing in it for you. And most of the time, that's what people will carry with them. So, if your path isn't neat, and it looks nothing like the brochure, if your journey is full of restarts, resets, quiet pivots, and moments that never made your CV, I hope this land. Let that be okay. You're not falling behind. You're not off track. You're just building something that isn't visible yet. You're building a life that doesn't look like a blueprint, because it isn't one. And when it finally is visible, it won't look like a TED Talk. It will look like you breathing fully in your own skin. You don't have to be loud to be heard. You don't have to be polished to be powerful. You don't have to have a title to be trusted, and you don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to keep walking, keep listening to yourself, keep trusting yourself, and keep showing up. And one day, without you even realizing it, you'll look around and think you made it. That's not by becoming a map, but by following one. Not by chasing the world, but by finally meeting yourself. That's the win, and that's the real ripple of change. Thank you.